It was 2 in the morning when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I was half asleep on the sofa, the television flickering in the darkness. A text from an unknown number glowed on the screen. She still loves me. Ask her. I squinted, thinking it was a wrong number. Then I recognized the area code. Derek. My girlfriend Megan's ex. The one she swore she was completely over. I glanced at her sleeping peacefully beside me, and my heart sank. Were the past 2 years even real? Before I share what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If stories about trust, betrayal, and standing up for yourself resonate with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. What I discovered in the following days shattered everything I believed about love and loyalty. Stay with me through this journey because the ending might surprise you. I met Megan 3 years ago at a small coffee shop near my office in Austin, Texas. I work as a software engineer for a tech company downtown, and this particular cafe had become my sanctuary during lunch breaks. The place was nothing fancy, just wooden tables, exposed brick walls, and the constant hum of espresso machines. But it had good Wi-Fi and decent coffee, which was all I needed. Megan was already there when I walked in that afternoon. She sat by the window, her laptop open, fingers dancing across the keyboard. I noticed her immediately. Not because she was trying to get attention, but because she seemed so absorbed in her work. There was something genuine about her focus, something that drew me in. I ordered my usual black coffee and found a seat 2 tables away. For 30 minutes, I pretended to work while stealing glances at her. Then I made my move. I stood up to get a napkin and somehow managed to trip over my own feet. My full cup of coffee went flying and landed directly on her laptop. Time stopped. I watched in horror as brown liquid spread across her keyboard. She jumped back her chair, scraping against the floor. I expected anger. I expected yelling. I expected her to demand I pay for the damage. Instead, she laughed. Not a polite laugh, but a real one. The kind that comes from somewhere deep. She looked at her soaked laptop, then at my mortified face, and she laughed even harder. "This thing was on its last legs anyway," she said, wiping coffee off the screen with a napkin. "I was looking for an excuse to replace it." I apologized probably 50 times in the next 5 minutes. I offered to buy her a new laptop, to pay for repairs, to do whatever it took to make things right. She waved me off and invited me to sit with her since I had effectively ended her work session. We talked for 4 hours that day. Her name was Megan. She was a freelance graphic designer, and she had been coming to this coffee shop for months without us ever crossing paths. She had grown up in a small town in Colorado, moved to Austin for college, and never left. She loved hiking, terrible horror movies, and cooking elaborate meals that took all day to prepare. By the time the coffee shop closed, I had her number and a date scheduled for Friday night. Our first few months together felt like something out of a movie. We went on long walks along Lady Bird Lake, watching the sun set over the water. We discovered hidden restaurants in East Austin places, with no signs outside but incredible food inside. We spent lazy Sundays in bed reading books and talking about everything and nothing. Around our 3rd month together, Megan opened up about her past. She told me about Derek, her ex-boyfriend of 4 years. They had met in college, dated through graduation, and lived together for 2 years after. According to Megan, Derek was controlling and jealous. He monitored her phone, questioned her friendships, and made her feel like she was constantly walking on eggshells. She left him a year before we met. It was the hardest thing she had ever done, she said, but also the most necessary. She needed to find herself again, to remember who she was outside of that relationship. I listened without judgment. I did not ask probing questions or demand details. Everyone has a past, and I respected that she was sharing something painful with me. I told her about my own history, about the girlfriend who cheated on me 2 years prior and left me questioning my ability to trust anyone. We bonded over our wounds that night. Two people who had been hurt trying to build something new together. After 6 months of dating, we decided to move in together. I found a 2-bedroom apartment in South Congress, a neighborhood we both loved. The rent was steep, but splitting it made it manageable. We spent our first weekend painting the walls, assembling furniture, and arguing about where to put the couch. Those early months of living together were blissful. We developed routines. I made coffee every morning while she prepared breakfast. We cooked dinner together most nights, trying new recipes and laughing at our failures. Weekends were for exploring the city or staying in and watching movies. I called my mother Linda one evening, unable to contain my happiness. She lived in Ohio, where I grew up, and we talked at least once a week. When I told her about Megan, about how happy I was, her voice softened. "You deserve this, Sterling," she said. "After everything you have been through, you deserve to be happy." I believed her. I believed I had finally found the person I was meant to be with. The first sign of trouble appeared about 8 months into our cohabitation. It was subtle, so subtle that I almost missed it entirely. Megan had always been protective of her phone, which I understood. Privacy is important, and I never felt the need to snoop. But I started noticing that she would angle her screen away from me when texting. She would leave the room to take certain calls. She would quickly close apps when I walked by. One evening I was bringing her a glass of wine when I saw a notification flash on her screen. The name Derek appeared briefly before the screen went dark. My stomach tightened, but I said nothing. They had been together for 4 years. It made sense that they might still communicate occasionally. Former partners can be friends. I told myself this was normal. A week later, Megan announced she was meeting an old friend for dinner to discuss a potential work project. I asked who, trying to sound casual. She hesitated for a moment. "Just Derek," she said. "He needs some design advice for his new business." Every instinct told me something was wrong, but I pushed the feeling down. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and I refused to be the jealous boyfriend who questioned everything. "Okay," I said. "Have fun." She kissed me before she left, told me she loved me, and promised to be home by 10. She came home at 1 in the morning. I was still awake, sitting in the dark living room when she walked through the door. She seemed surprised to see me. "The dinner ran late," she explained. "We lost track of time." I nodded, asked if she had a good time. She said yes, her voice a little too bright, her eyes not quite meeting mine. She went straight to bed, and I stayed on the couch for another hour, staring at the ceiling and wondering if I was being paranoid. The meetings with Derek continued over the next 2 months. Each time, Megan had a reasonable explanation. Derek needed help with a logo. Derek wanted feedback on his website. Derek was going through a hard time and needed someone to talk to. I noticed changes in her behavior. Small shifts that added up to something larger. She started caring more about her appearance before these meetings. New dresses appeared in our closet. She spent longer doing her makeup, styling her hair. When I commented on how nice she looked, she brushed it off as wanting to feel good about herself. She laughed more when texting, then quickly put her phone away when I entered the room. She became distant in the evenings, lost in thought, responding to my questions with one-word answers. I started losing sleep. I would lie awake at 3 in the morning, replaying conversations in my head, searching for clues. My work suffered. I missed deadlines, made careless mistakes. My supervisor pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay at home. "Just tired," I told him. "Nothing to worry about." But there was plenty to worry about. I just was not ready to admit it. One night, unable to bear the weight alone, I called Marcus. We had been best friends since freshman year of college, roommates for 3 years, and groomsmen at each other's weddings. Well, his wedding. I never made it that far. Marcus now lived in Denver working as a corporate lawyer. He had been through his own heartbreak. His first wife had cheated on him for 6 months before he discovered the truth. The divorce nearly destroyed him. I told him everything. The meetings with Derek, the secretive texts, the changes in Megan's behavior. He listened without interrupting, then let out a long breath. "Sterling," he said, "these are red flags. Big ones. You need to talk to her directly." I know, I admitted. But what if I am wrong? What if I accuse her and she is innocent? I will destroy everything we have built. And if you are right, he countered, you will destroy yourself by staying silent. He told me about his own experience, how he had noticed the signs with his ex-wife but convinced himself he was imagining things. By the time he confronted her, she had been sleeping with her coworker for half a year. "Do not make my mistake," Marcus said. "The truth hurts, but lies hurt worse." I promised him I would talk to Megan. That night, I sat her down at the kitchen table. The apartment was quiet, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator. I took a deep breath and asked her directly, "Megan, is there something going on between you and Derek?" Her reaction was immediate. Her eyes widened, filled with tears. Her voice trembled with what seemed like genuine hurt. "How can you ask me that?" she said. "I have given you everything. I left my past behind for you. And this is what you think of me." I explained my observations. The late nights, the secret texts, the way she had been acting differently. She cried harder, insisting that I was misreading innocent interactions. "Derek is just a friend," she said. "He is going through a hard time. His business is struggling. His mother is sick. He has no one else to turn to. I am trying to be a decent person by helping him." Is that a crime? Guilt washed over me. Here I was, accusing the woman I loved based on nothing but circumstantial evidence. Maybe I was projecting my past trauma onto her. Maybe I was so afraid of being hurt again that I was sabotaging my own happiness. "I am sorry," I said, pulling her into my arms. "I trust you. I do. I am just scared of losing you." She held me tight and promised to keep more distance from Derek. She said she understood my concerns and would be more transparent going forward. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. For 2 weeks, things seemed to return to normal. Megan was more affectionate, more present. She stopped mentioning Derek entirely. I started sleeping better, convinced that my fears had been unfounded. Then I saw the message. It was a Thursday evening. Megan had gone to take a shower, leaving her phone on the coffee table. I had no intention of looking at it. But when the screen lit up with a notification, my eyes automatically went to it. The message was from Derek. "Last night was amazing. I miss you already." The words burned into my brain. I read them once, twice, 3 times, hoping I had misunderstood. But there was no misunderstanding, no ambiguity, no room for doubt. Last night, Megan had told me she was working late at a client's office. She came home at 11, kissed me goodnight, and fell asleep beside me as if nothing had happened. I heard the shower turn off. My hands were shaking. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. Every instinct screamed at me to confront her immediately, to demand an explanation. But I did not. I needed to be strategic. I needed more than a single text message. So I composed myself, forced a smile when she emerged from the bathroom, and pretended everything was fine. That night, I lay beside her in bed, wide awake. The woman I loved. The woman who promised to be honest with me. She slept peacefully, while I stared at the ceiling, my world crumbling silently in the dark. 3 days passed. 3 days of pretending everything was normal while I gathered my thoughts and prepared for what I knew had to come. I observed Megan with new eyes, noticing every small deception. The way she claimed her phone died when I knew it had been charged. The way she said she was meeting a girlfriend for lunch, but came home smelling like cologne. Then, at 2 in the morning on a Saturday night, my phone buzzed. I was lying on the sofa, unable to sleep beside her anymore. I picked up my phone and saw a text from an unknown number. "She still loves me. Ask her. This is Derek, by the way." I stared at the message. Derek was clearly drunk, probably wanting to cause chaos. But in his intoxication, he had given me exactly what I needed. Proof. Confirmation. An end to my uncertainty. I took a screenshot of the message. Then I looked over at Megan, asleep in our bed, her face peaceful and innocent. The face of a liar. I did not sleep that night. Instead, I quietly packed a suitcase with her belongings. Clothes, toiletries, the jewelry she kept in her nightstand. I moved methodically, silently, preparing for the morning. When Megan woke up, she found me sitting at the kitchen table. A cup of coffee sat in front of me, cold and untouched. I had been sitting there for 2 hours. "You are up early," she said, stretching. "Is everything okay?" I did not respond. I simply handed her my phone with Derek's message on the screen. The color drained from her face as she read it. Her mouth opened, then closed. She tried to compose herself. "He is drunk," she said. "He does not know what he is saying." I kept my voice calm. "What about this message from 3 days ago? Last night was amazing. I miss you already." Was he drunk then too? Silence. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape, an excuse, anything. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "Sterling, it is complicated." Those 3 words hit me like a physical blow. Not a denial, not an explanation, just an admission wrapped in an excuse. "No," I said, standing up. "It is not complicated. It is actually very simple. You cheated. We are done." I walked to the closet and pulled out the suitcase I had packed hours earlier. Her eyes went wide when she saw it. "Sterling, please," she begged. "Let me explain. It was a mistake. Derek means nothing to me." I set the suitcase in front of her. "You had a chance to explain. Multiple chances. You chose to lie. Every single time." She grabbed my arm, tears streaming down her face. "I love you," she said. "I made a terrible mistake, but I love you." I pulled away from her grip. "You love me, but you slept with your ex. That is not love, Megan. That is convenience. I was your safety net while you kept your options open." I walked to the front door and opened it. The morning sun streamed in harsh and bright. "Go be complicated somewhere else," I said. "I deserve better than this." She stood there for a long moment, clutching the suitcase handle, tears running down her cheeks. Part of me wanted to take it all back, to pretend I never saw those messages, to continue living in blissful ignorance. But I could not. I would not. She picked up the suitcase and walked past me without another word. I watched her disappear down the hallway, then closed the door. Only then did I allow myself to break. I slid down the wall, sat on the cold floor, and cried for the first time in years. Not just for Megan, but for the future I thought we would have together. For the trust I gave her that she shattered. For the version of myself that still wanted to believe in fairy tales. The apartment felt enormous without her. Her presence lingered everywhere. The coffee mug she always used sat in the dish rack. The book she was reading lay on the nightstand. Her shampoo still filled the bathroom with her scent. I spent the rest of that day removing every trace of her. I packed her remaining belongings into boxes and left them in the hallway for her to collect. I deleted our photos from my phone. I took down the pictures from our walls. When I finished, the apartment looked bare, empty, like my chest felt. I called Marcus that evening, told him what happened. He listened, then said something I will never forget. "You did the hardest thing, Sterling. You chose self-respect over comfort. I am proud of you." I did not feel proud. I felt hollow. But somewhere beneath the pain, I knew he was right. The first week was brutal. I called in sick to work, unable to face the world. Megan bombarded me with texts and calls begging for another chance. Derek sent a message too, apologizing for his drunken text, claiming he never meant to cause problems. I blocked them both. My mother flew in from Ohio as soon as I told her what happened. She did not ask questions or offer advice. She simply held me while I cried, made me soup I could not taste, and sat with me in silence when words felt impossible. Her presence was a lifeline. After a month, I forced myself back into some semblance of normalcy. I returned to work, threw myself into projects, stayed late at the office to avoid going home to an empty apartment. My supervisor noticed the change and gave me more responsibilities, which I welcomed as a distraction. Marcus encouraged me to see a therapist. I resisted at first, thinking I could handle everything on my own. But the sleepless nights continued. The anger would surge at random moments. I knew I needed help. My therapist was a calm woman named Dr. Patterson. In our sessions, she helped me understand patterns I had been blind to. My fear of abandonment from my previous relationship had made me ignore red flags with Megan. I had prioritized avoiding conflict over protecting myself. I had confused love with tolerance. The work was difficult. Some sessions left me emotionally drained. But slowly, gradually, I started to heal. I learned to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. I learned that setting boundaries is not selfish. I learned that I could not control other people's actions, only my responses to them. 6 months after Megan left, I moved to a new apartment across town. I needed a fresh start, a space without memories. The new place was smaller but felt right. I painted the walls myself a deep blue that reminded me of the ocean. I bought new furniture pieces I chose without consulting anyone else. I started learning guitar, something I had always wanted to do, but never made time for. The calluses on my fingers became a source of pride. I joined a running club and met people who knew nothing of my past, who only knew me as I am now. My relationship with myself improved. I started cooking meals I enjoyed, not ones designed to impress someone else. I read books I actually wanted to read. I took solo trips to places I had always wanted to visit. I learned that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Looking back now, I see that losing Megan was one of the most painful experiences of my life. But it was also one of the most important. It taught me that love without trust is worthless. It taught me that self-respect is not negotiable. It taught me that walking away from something broken is not weakness. It is strength. I do not hate Megan. Hatred requires energy I would rather spend on myself. I understand now that she was dealing with her own issues, her own fears, her own inability to be honest. That does not excuse what she did, but it helps me release the anger. The future is uncertain. Maybe I will find someone who deserves my trust. Maybe I will be happy on my own. Either way, I know one thing for certain. I will never again accept less than I deserve. I will never again ignore my instincts to keep the peace. I will never again sacrifice my dignity for the illusion of love. If you are going through something similar, I want you to know this. You are not alone. The pain you feel is real, but it is not permanent. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is survival. And you deserve a love that does not make you question your worth. So here is my question for you. Have you ever had to choose between staying comfortable and standing up for yourself? What did you decide? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is struggling. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we deserve better. Thank you for staying with me through this story. I appreciate every single one of you who took the time to listen. Whatever you are going through, I hope you find the strength to choose yourself. You are worth it. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.